DMZ Korea, the most dangerous border in the world. The Korean Demilitarized Zone, often called the DMZ, is one of the most unusual places on Earth. It is both a scar from war and a place of unexpected life. Stretching about 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula, the DMZ separates South Korea and North Korea. Although its name suggests peace, it is one of the most heavily guarded borders in the world. Soldiers stand watch, fences cut across hills, and landmines lie hidden beneath the soil. Yet at the same time, cranes fly overhead, rivers flow freely, and wild animals roam without fear. The DMZ tells a powerful story of conflict and fear, courage and sacrifice, silence and survival, and finally, nature's quiet recovery. A line born from war. The DMZ was created in 1953, when the Korean War ended. Not with a peace treaty, but with an armistice. The war had devastated the peninsula, killing millions of civilians and soldiers. To stop the fighting, both sides agreed to pull their troops back 2 kilometers from the front line. This buffer zone became the Demilitarized Zone. But the word demilitarized is misleading. On both sides of the DMZ, massive armies remain ready. Guard posts, watchtowers, and artillery surround the zone. The Military Demarcation Line (MDL) runs through the center, marking the exact border between South and North Korea. Crossing it without permission is considered an act of war. What is often misunderstood is that the MDL itself is not a wall or fence. It is marked by 1,292 small yellow signs stretching across the peninsula. Many of these markers have rusted, fallen, or been partially reclaimed by grass and trees, quietly fading into the landscape. The dramatic fences are actually located farther away, along the southern and northern limit lines, 2 kilometers on each side of the MDL. For decades, this narrow strip of land has symbolized the division of a people who share the same language, history, and culture. A symbol of the Cold War. During the Cold War, the DMZ became more than just a Korean issue. It turned into a global symbol of ideological conflict. On one side stood South Korea and its allies. On the other stood North Korea and the Communist bloc. The DMZ was often described as the most dangerous border in the world. Loudspeakers broadcast propaganda across the line. Soldiers stared at each other from only meters away. Every movement was watched, every step measured. One mistake could trigger international consequences. This ideological battle never truly ended. Even in recent years, activists in the South have launched balloons carrying leaflets, USB drives filled with foreign news and television shows, and even snacks into the North. In response, North Korea has sent balloons filled with trash or revived loudspeaker broadcasts, blasting military music and messages across the border. The DMZ remains a place where modern technology carries old conflicts into the present. Even today, the Cold War has technically never ended on the Korean peninsula. The DMZ remains a frozen reminder of that unresolved history, where soldiers stand face to face. Inside the DMZ lies the Joint Security Area (JSA) at Panmunjom. This is the only place where soldiers from North and South Korea stand directly facing each other. The iconic blue conference buildings sit directly on the borderline, so close that soldiers sometimes stand only inches apart. What looks calm in photographs is actually tense. Every gesture is controlled. Every step follows strict rules. The JSA feels less like a meeting place, and more like a stage where restraint itself is the main performance. Gunfire in a place of silence. Although the DMZ often feels quiet and still, violence has broken out many times. One of the most dramatic incidents occurred in the JSA in the 1980s, when a Soviet visitor suddenly ran across the military demarcation line seeking asylum. North Korean soldiers opened fire and chased him across the border. South Korean and United Nations soldiers returned fire. What began as a 10-second sprint became a deadly international firefight. One South Korean soldier was killed while protecting the defector. His sacrifice saved a life, but reminded the world how fragile peace in the DMZ truly is. Another infamous moment came in 1976, when 2 U.S. officers were killed by North Korean soldiers during a routine mission to trim a tree that blocked visibility between guard posts. That single incident nearly escalated into full-scale conflict, showing how even the smallest actions in the DMZ can carry enormous consequences. Desertion, decisions, and no return. The DMZ has also been crossed by those desperate for freedom. Defections, especially from North Korea, are rare and extremely dangerous. Soldiers attempting to escape must dodge bullets, fences, and mines, knowing that failure often means death. Near the JSA stands the Bridge of No Return, used for prisoner exchanges after the war. Prisoners were allowed to choose which side they would live on, but once they crossed the bridge, they could never return. The bridge remains a haunting symbol of how final division can be. A land of barbed wire, tunnels, and mines. Physical barriers define the DMZ landscape. Miles of barbed wire fences stretch across mountains and valleys. In some areas, electric fences carry high voltage. Warning signs mark minefields, where thousands of unexploded landmines remain buried. Less visible, but just as unsettling, are the infiltration tunnels. Discovered beneath the DMZ. Between the 1970s and 1990s, South Korea uncovered 4 massive tunnels dug from the north toward Seoul. One of them, known as the Third Tunnel, is now open to visitors. Walking through it reveals how close hidden conflict once ran beneath the surface. When the tunnel was discovered, North Korea claimed it was merely a coal mine. The tunnel walls were even darkened with coal dust to support the story, despite the fact that coal does not naturally exist in the surrounding rock. The explanation convinced few, adding a strange and almost surreal footnote to the history of the DMZ. Villages that watch each other. Despite its reputation as a no-man's land, there are villages near the DMZ that quietly reflect the ongoing standoff. On the South Korean side is Daesungdong, often called Freedom Village. Its residents are farmers who live under strict rules, including curfews and constant monitoring, but receive special privileges such as tax exemptions. Across the border lies Kijeongdong, sometimes called the Propaganda Village. From a distance, it appears modern and orderly. Many observers believe it was designed mainly to be seen. Another silent message sent across the divide. Soldiers on the edge. For soldiers stationed near the DMZ, daily life is a mix of tension and routine. They train constantly, conduct live fire drills, and guard the fences day and night. Winter brings freezing winds, while summer brings thick heat and insects. Yet soldiers also witness moments of quiet beauty. Wild boars wander near guard posts. Deer cross frozen streams. Birds nest near watchtowers. Some soldiers even notice how animals adapt to military spaces, finding food and shelter where humans least expect it. Living in the DMZ teaches soldiers a strange lesson. Even in a place built for war, life continues.
From battlefield to sanctuary. Because human access has been restricted for over 70 years, the DMZ has become one of the most well-preserved natural areas in Asia. Forests have grown back where villages once stood. Wetlands have formed along rivers that flow freely across the border. Bomb craters have filled with water and turned into ponds. Old military roads have softened into animal trails. Scientists often describe the DMZ as an accidental nature reserve. Unlike protected parks created by design, this one emerged by absence. Human farming, construction, and industrial development simply stopped. Nature was left alone, and it responded. Today, the DMZ is home to an extraordinary level of biodiversity. Researchers have identified more than 2,900 plant species, along with hundreds of species of birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. Remarkably, nearly 40% of South Korea's endangered species are found within or near the DMZ, even though the area makes up less than 2% of the country's land. Among the most iconic residents are red-crowned cranes and white-naped cranes, rare birds that rely on quiet wetlands to survive. These cranes, long symbols of peace and longevity in Korean culture, now thrive in a place born from war. Other species include Asiatic black bears, otters, mountain goats, and migratory birds that use the DMZ as a vital stop along East Asian flyways. Rivers play a central role in this recovery. Streams such as the Imjin and Han rivers cross the DMZ, without regard for political borders, creating wetlands and floodplains that support fish, insects, and birds. Because dams, pollution, and urban runoff are minimal inside the zone, these waterways remain unusually clean compared to surrounding regions. Ecologists also value the DMZ as a living laboratory. It offers a rare chance to study how ecosystems recover when human pressure is removed for long periods of time. Forest succession, wetland regeneration, and predator-prey relationships can be observed, almost as they would have existed decades ago. Yet this ecological success comes with a painful irony. Many conservationists worry that if reunification ever happens, the DMZ could quickly disappear under highways, rail lines, housing, and factories. What has survived precisely because humans stayed out could be lost once humans return. Some have proposed turning the DMZ into a permanent peace park, protected jointly by both Koreas and preserved as a global ecological and historical site. Whether this vision becomes reality remains uncertain. For now, the DMZ endures as one of the world's strangest truths. A place where division protected life, and silence allowed nature to heal. Echoes of the past, hopes for the future. The DMZ is filled with silence, but it speaks loudly. It tells stories of war and fear, bravery and loss. It reminds us how quickly peace can collapse, and how long wounds can last. At the same time, it offers hope. The land itself shows resilience. Where humans stopped, life returned. Where gunfire once echoed, birds now sing. Scientists now consider the DMZ one of the few places on Earth where ecological succession can be studied on a continental scale, offering rare insight into how forests, wetlands, and entire ecosystems rebuild themselves over time. The DMZ is not just a line on a map. It is a living lesson about history, restraint, and the quiet power of nature to heal, even when humans cannot.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Armistice. Definition. An armistice is an official agreement between opposing sides to stop fighting, especially during a war, without officially ending the conflict. Example, the Korean War ended with an armistice in 1953, but a peace treaty was never signed. 2. Buffer zone. Definition. A buffer zone is an area created to separate opposing sides and reduce the chance of direct conflict between them. Example, the DMZ acts as a buffer zone between South and North Korea. 3. Demarcation. Definition. Demarcation refers to the act of marking or defining a boundary or border between two areas. Example, the demarcation of the border was marked by small signs, rather than a physical wall. 4. Propaganda. Definition. Propaganda is information, often biased or misleading, used to influence people's opinions or beliefs, especially for political purposes. Example, loudspeakers along the border were used to spread propaganda during times of tension. 5. Asylum. Definition. Asylum is protection granted by a country to someone who has fled their home nation because of danger or persecution. Example, the man crossed the border seeking asylum from political oppression. 6. Dodge. Definition. To dodge means to avoid something quickly or skillfully, often to escape danger or harm. Example, the defector had to dodge bullets as he ran across the border. 7. Infiltration. Definition: infiltration is the act of secretly entering a place or organization, usually for military or political reasons. Example: the discovery of infiltration tunnels shocked the South Korean government. 8. Surreal. Definition: surreal describes something that feels strange, dreamlike, or unreal, often because it contrasts sharply with expectations. Example: seeing wild animals living peacefully beside military fences felt surreal. 9. Adapt. Definition: to adapt means to change or adjust in order to survive or function better in a new or difficult environment. Example: animals in the DMZ have adapted to life without human interference. 10. Biodiversity. Definition: biodiversity refers to the variety of living plants and animals in a particular area or ecosystem. Example: the DMZ has high biodiversity because it has been left untouched for decades. 11. Amphibians. Definition: amphibians are animals that can live both in water and on land, such as frogs and salamanders. Example: clean wetlands in the DMZ support many species of amphibians. 12. Urban runoff. Definition: urban runoff is rainwater that flows over streets and buildings, often carrying pollution into rivers and lakes. Example: the rivers inside the DMZ remain cleaner because there is little urban runoff. 13. Forest succession. Definition: forest succession is the natural process by which plants and trees gradually grow and change over time, after an area is left undisturbed. Example: scientists study forest succession in the DMZ to understand long-term ecological recovery. 14. Reunification. Definition: reunification is the process of bringing two separated regions or nations back together as one. Example: many Koreans hope for reunification, but it raises complex political and environmental concerns. 15. Resilience. Definition: resilience is the ability to recover, adapt, or remain strong after facing hardship or damage. Example: the return of wildlife to the DMZ shows the resilience of nature.
Comprehension questions. 1. What does DMZ stand for and when was it created? Answer: DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone. It was created in 1953 after the Korean War ended with an armistice, not a peace treaty. 2. Why is the term demilitarized misleading when describing the DMZ? Answer: because although soldiers are not supposed to be inside the DMZ itself, massive military forces, weapons, and guard posts surround it on both sides. 3. What is the military demarcation line MDL? Answer: the MDL is the actual border line between North and South Korea that runs through the center of the DMZ. 4. How is the MDL physically marked, and why is this surprising? Answer: it is marked by 1,292 small yellow signs rather than a wall or fence. Many of these markers have rusted or been covered by vegetation, showing how nature is reclaiming the line. 5. What are the fences most people see in photos of the DMZ? Answer: they are the southern and northern limit lines, located about 2 kilometers away from the MDL on each side, not the actual border. 6. Why did the DMZ become an important symbol during the Cold War? Answer: it represented the global ideological conflict between communism and capitalism, and was seen as one of the most dangerous borders in the world. 7. How does ideological conflict continue at the DMZ today? Answer: through balloon launches carrying leaflets, USB drives, or food, loudspeaker broadcasts, and propaganda exchanges between North and South Korea. 8. What is the Joint Security Area JSA, and why is it unique? Answer: the JSA is the only place where soldiers from both sides stand face to face, sometimes only inches apart, inside blue conference buildings that sit directly on the border. 9. Describe one incident that shows how fragile peace is in the DMZ. Answer: a Soviet visitor once defected by running across the border, triggering a deadly firefight that killed a South Korean soldier, showing how quickly violence can erupt. 10. What was the significance of the 1976 tree trimming incident? Answer: 2 U.S. officers were killed while trimming a tree, and the incident nearly escalated into a full-scale war, proving how small actions can have huge consequences. 11. Why is the Bridge of No Return an important symbol? Answer: because prisoners who crossed it after the war could never return, making it a symbol of irreversible decisions and permanent division. 12. What dangers do defectors face when crossing the DMZ? Answer: they must avoid bullets, fences, and land. Failure often results in death. 13. What were the infiltration tunnels and why were they alarming? Answer: they were large tunnels dug by North Korea toward the south, capable of moving thousands of soldiers per hour, showing how close hidden conflict came. 14. What unusual explanation did North Korea give when one tunnel was discovered? Answer: they claimed it was a coal mine and even painted the walls with coal dust, despite coal not existing naturally in that area. 15. What are Daesongdong and Kijongdong? Answer: they are 2 villages near the DMZ, Daesongdong Freedom Village in the south and Kijongdong, often called Propaganda Village, in the north. 16. Why is the DMZ called an accidental nature reserve? Answer: because human activity stopped for decades due to military restrictions, allowing nature to recover on its own. 17. Name 2 endangered species that live in or near the DMZ. Answer: red-crowned cranes and Asiatic black bears. Other acceptable answers include otters or mountain goats. 18. Why do scientists consider the DMZ ecologically important? Answer: it allows scientists to study ecological succession and ecosystem recovery on a large continental scale. 19. What is the tragic irony of the DMZ's ecological success? Answer: its rich ecosystem may survive only because the peninsula remains divided, and reunification could threaten it through development. 20. What is the central message of the article? Answer: the DMZ shows that while human conflict creates deep scars, nature can heal when given time and space, even in the most dangerous places.